Have you ever felt like no one truly understands what you're going through? Maybe you've been carrying a burden so heavy that it feels like it's crushing you, and no matter how much you try to push through, the weight won't lift. You smile in front of others, but when you're alone, the silence is deafening. Maybe you lie awake at night replaying moments of pain, regret, or disappointment, wondering if things will ever change. If this sounds familiar, I want you to take a deep breath and listen closely. You are not alone.
I know it might not feel like it right now. The world can be a lonely place. People can let us down. Sometimes even those closest to us don't see the depth of our struggles. But even in the moments when you feel unseen, unheard, and forgotten, there is one who has never left your side. His name is Jesus, and right now, he is reaching out to heal your heart. You see, pain has a way of making us believe lies. Lies that tell us we're alone. Lies that whisper, no one cares, no one understands. You will always feel this way. But Jesus speaks a different truth. He sees you, he knows your pain. And more than anything, he wants to bring you healing, hope, and peace. The Bible tells us in Psalm 34:18 that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Think about that for a moment. God isn't distant from your pain. He is close. When your heart is breaking, he is right there, holding you in his love, even when you don't feel it. There's a story in the Bible about a woman who probably felt just like you do right now. She was isolated, rejected, and carrying deep wounds, both physical and emotional. For 12 years, she suffered, trying everything she could to find healing. She was cast aside, ignored, and seen as unworthy. But one day, she encountered Jesus. She didn't shout to get his attention. She didn't beg for a miracle. She simply reached out and touched the edge of his garment. And in that moment, her healing began. Why? Because she believed. Jesus turned to her, looked into her eyes, and said, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." Mark 5:34. Maybe today you feel like this woman. You've been searching for healing, for comfort, for something to take away the pain. And maybe like her, you don't even have the words to say. But Jesus doesn't need you to have all the answers. He just needs you to reach out to him.
So stay with me until the end of this video, because today I want to show you how Jesus can heal your heart right now. Maybe you're wondering, how can Jesus heal my heart? How can he take away this pain when I've been carrying it for so long? The truth is, healing doesn't always happen in an instant. Sometimes it's a process, but it begins the moment you let Jesus in. Jesus never promised that life would be free of pain, but he did promise that we would never have to walk through it alone. He said in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." He didn't say, "Figure it out on your own." He didn't say, "Carry your pain by yourself." He said, "Come to me." Right now, Jesus is inviting you to do the same.
1. Jesus heals through his presence. One of the most powerful ways Jesus heals our hearts is simply by being with us. In the moments when we feel the most alone, he is closer than we realize. Think about the disciples on the boat in the middle of a raging storm, Mark 4:35-41. The winds were howling, the waves were crashing, and they thought they were going to die. But where was Jesus? Right there in the boat with them.
At first they panicked. They cried out, "Lord, don't you care if we drown?" Maybe you've asked God the same thing. "Lord, don't you see what I'm going through? Don't you care?" But Jesus did care. He stood up, spoke to the storm, and instantly the waves calmed. Sometimes Jesus calms the storm around us. Other times he calms the storm inside of us. Either way, he never leaves us to face it alone.
Whatever storm you're facing today, remember, Jesus is in the boat with you. He has not abandoned you, and he never will. 2. Jesus heals through his love. One of the most painful wounds we carry is the feeling of being unloved. Maybe people have walked away from you. Maybe you've been hurt by someone you trusted. Maybe you feel like you're not enough. But Jesus looks at you and says, "You are loved, you are chosen, you are mine." The enemy wants you to believe that you're forgotten, but God says, "I have engraved you on the palms of my hands." Isaiah 49:16. The enemy wants you to believe that you're unworthy, but God says, "You are fearfully and wonderfully made." Psalm 139:14. The enemy wants you to believe that you are alone, but Jesus says, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." Hebrews 13:5. No matter what you've done, no matter what has been done to you, God's love for you has never changed. It is constant, unshakable, and unconditional. 3. Jesus heals through your surrender. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is let go. We hold on to our pain, our past, and our wounds because we don't know who we are without them. But Jesus is asking you today, will you trust me with your heart?
Healing begins when we surrender. It doesn't mean we forget the pain. It doesn't mean everything is suddenly perfect. It means we place it in God's hands and say, "Lord, I can't do this on my own, but I trust you to heal me." Look at Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into prison, forgotten. But even through years of suffering, he held on to God. And in the end, he saw the purpose behind his pain. Look at Job. He lost everything, yet he refused to turn away from God. And in time, God restored everything he had lost and more.
God can take your pain and turn it into purpose. He can take what was meant to destroy you and use it to strengthen you. But first, you have to give it to him. Right now, Jesus is knocking on the door of your heart. Maybe you've been running. Maybe you've been holding on to pain because it's all you've known. Maybe you feel like you don't deserve healing, but Jesus is here whispering, "Give it to me. Let me heal you. You don't have to carry this anymore." So here's what I want you to do. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and surrender your heart to Jesus. Say this prayer with me. Lord, I give you my pain, my fears, my brokenness. I invite you into my heart. Heal me, restore me, and fill me with your love. I trust you, Jesus. Amen. If you just prayed that, know this: Jesus has already begun a healing work in you. And this is just the beginning. If you've made it this far, I want you to take a moment and recognize something powerful. Jesus is already working in your heart. The fact that you're here seeking healing is proof that he is drawing you closer. You are not forgotten, you are not invisible, you are deeply loved by the one who created you. But here's what I need you to understand. Healing is a journey. Sometimes God removes our pain instantly, like when Jesus told the woman with the issue of blood, "Your faith has healed you." Mark 5:34. Other times healing comes through a process, like Joseph, who endured betrayal, slavery, and years of waiting before he saw God's purpose unfold. No matter how it happens, God is faithful. Healing is not about pretending the pain never existed. It's about trusting God to bring beauty from the brokenness. Romans 8:28 reminds us that God works all things together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. That means even this pain, even this season of loneliness, can be used for something greater. 1. Hold on to his promises. In the moments when doubt creeps in, when you feel like healing is too far away, cling to his word. The Bible is filled with promises that God has made to you. Isaiah 41:10. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. Psalm 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. Write these verses down. Speak them over your life. When lies tell you that you're alone, remind yourself of the truth. God is with you. 2. Surround yourself with faith. Healing doesn't happen in isolation. You were never meant to walk this journey alone. Find people who will pray with you, encourage you, and remind you of God's promises when you forget them.
Get plugged into a church or community.
Surround yourself with people who speak life. Seek wise counsel and guidance in your walk with God. Even Jesus surrounded himself with close friends and disciples. You are meant for connection, not loneliness. 3. Keep moving forward in faith. Healing is not about feeling ready. It's about taking the next step, even when you don't feel strong. Faith is believing that Jesus is working even before you see the evidence. So, here's what I want you to do. Make a commitment today to trust God with your healing. Start a prayer routine. Talk to God daily, even if it's just a simple, Lord, help me. Spend time in the Word. Let His truth replace the lies of the enemy. Surrender your pain every day. Healing is not a one-time event. It's a daily choice to trust Him. If you're ready to take this step, I invite you to comment Amen below. Let this be your declaration that you are stepping into a new season of healing. And if this message touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear this today. You never know whose life you could change by simply passing on the hope of Jesus. You are not alone. You never have been. Jesus has been with you every step of the way, even in the moments when you didn't see Him. And now He's calling you forward, not to live in the pain of the past, but to walk in the freedom He has for you. Take His hand. Trust Him. Your healing begins now.